Yes, welcome once again, everyone. Cannabis News with Joe Klare, November 1st, 2018. The show is presented, as always, by the Marijuana Times. Check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Click the video tab to find the show. And, of course, find our social media links, bunch of great articles, all kinds of stuff there as well. marijuanatimes.org. Today we're talking about the Detroit NAACP and their feelings on marijuana legalization. Also, a new review of thousands of peer-reviewed cannabis studies. And some interesting marijuana law reform news out of Mexico. Some historic news out of Mexico. All of that is coming up. But first, of course, Cannabis News is brought to you by Natureside, nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Check out their organic, all-natural pesticides. They're a proud sponsor of the show. You want to check them out if you're a cannabis cultivator in a state where it's legal. You want to grow safe and poison-free. You don't want to use harmful chemicals. And you want to be regulatory compliant, of course. You don't want to use banned pesticides. You can accomplish all of these goals with Natureside, nature-side.com, a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. This first story is by yours truly, marijuanatimes.org. Why is the Detroit NAACP saying no to Michigan's Proposition 1? Basically, if you click the link in the description of this video, you see some clips from a press conference that the Detroit NAACP had in regards to Proposition 1, marijuana legalization in Michigan, and the very odd reasoning behind their opposition to legalization. Camelia Landrum, she's deputy director of the New York branch of the NAACP. She had a few pretty memorable quotes from this press conference. One is this: Prop 1 supports the very issues that are harming our neighborhoods and killing our families. Prop 1 supports marijuana legalization, no other drug legalization whatsoever. The issue it supports is marijuana legalization. So she's saying that marijuana is harming our neighborhoods and killing our families, which is ludicrous. That's not the most ludicrous thing she said. Something else she said: this ballot initiative adds another layer to the systematic racism that has held our communities of color, particularly African Americans, in bondage for hundreds of years. So removing it, in her line of logic, removing a reason that law enforcement that uses to target African Americans, namely marijuana prohibition. Black people are arrested at much higher rates than white people, despite similar rates of use. She's saying that taking away those laws, replacing them with laws that make cannabis use and possession and selling and stuff like that not as illegal, is going to add more racism and keep black people in bondage. I guess because less black people will go to jail, that means that there will be more bondage. Less people in jail, more bondage. I don't understand. I don't know what this woman is talking about, and I suspect she doesn't know what she's talking about either. And that's the problem. She has no idea. She's either up there puppeting some other stupid talking points by some other moron, or her own moronic talking points. Why does the Detroit NAACP want more black people to go to jail? Why doesn't the Detroit NAACP want less black people to go to jail? A lower amount of black people in jail. What is the problem with that? Marijuana shops open up their neighborhood. Oh, more jobs for black people? Now we've just gone off the rails. Less black people in jail and more black people having jobs? Well, the Detroit NAACP, of course, they can't get on board with that. I mean, look, a lot of people are out there saying, hey, man, you're white. You have no idea about the issues in the black community. Well, you know what issue I do know about? Marijuana legalization. I know that less black people are going to go to jail because less people overall are going to go to jail under legalization. I know that more jobs in the neighborhoods where black people live means that more black people can get more jobs because the jobs in the neighborhoods where they live. You live close to the place where the job is. It's very advantageous. It helps a lot. If like the job is here and you're here and you want to get the job and have the job, it's a very short distance to go. All of this reasoning is absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. Later on, she said that marijuana legalization will not create more jobs, it will take them away. She didn't elaborate on that, and I wish she would have, because that sounds dumb. I'm sorry. I don't know what, it sounds dumb. Marijuana legalization is going to take jobs away. How? Does she mean from drug dealers? That's the only people who are going to lose their jobs under marijuana legalization. It's people who sell marijuana illegally and grow it illegally. Those people will lose their businesses. A lot of them will. Is that who she's talking about? And she says that legalization does not lead to better health care. More access to marijuana does not lead to better health care. I don't know. I don't know. Like I asked in the article, why would the NAACP take a position that will continue to incarcerate more black people for crimes in which those said black people have not infringed on the rights of anyone else? I don't know. That seems bad to me. Again, I'm not black. I'm very white. You can see. But I'm thinking that a lower amount of black people going to jail and more of them being employed is going to help the black community as it would help any other community anywhere at any time. Less people in jail, more people employed. What neighborhood, what community won't get behind that? What is the problem with that? Who's the group of people that are just going to say, oh, no, that's crazy? According to the Detroit NAACP, it's black people. Black people want to go to jail and they don't want more jobs. Seems odd, but again, I'm not an expert. Maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. I don't know. I'm not an expert on black issues. But I think jail is bad and jobs are good. I don't want to presume. The Detroit NAACP obviously knows more about this issue, and the black community than I do. So there you go. This next story is from Normal Review. Thousands of peer-reviewed studies specific to medical cannabis, I'll get through it, have been published over the past decade. I've been battling the flu, and I think that I used too much of my capabilities on that last story, so these next two stories may suffer greatly. This is a story out of Beersheba, Israel. The total number of peer-reviewed scientific papers dedicated to cannabis and the therapeutic use of cannabis in particular has increased exponentially in recent years, according to data published by the journal Population Health Management. Again, another journal I had no idea existed. There's so many journals. There's an incredible amount of journals. Now we have Population Health Management. I don't have a subscription as of yet, but if you want to, Christmas is coming up. If anyone wants to shoot me a subscription to a Population Health Management, I'll be forever grateful. Israeli researchers assessed trends in the number of scientific publications specific to cannabis as compared to all scientific publications during the years 2000 to 2017. The overall annual number of scientific publications increased 2.5 times, but during that same time, the corresponding number of publications on cannabis increased 4.5 times, and the publications on medical cannabis had a 9-fold increase above the overall increase in the number of published studies. Authors identified just over 29,000 cannabis-centric scientific papers published during the study period, 2000-2017, of course, with over 3,300 of those dedicated to the subject of medical marijuana. Those reports and those papers were likely to address its use in the treatment of HIV, chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, nausea, or epilepsy. So there you go. Lots of studies. We always need more, of course, but when people say that there's really not much scientific research on cannabis, I mean, I guess, well, I don't know what they would be talking about, even in relative terms. It's more, the increase is more overall than all studies across the board in terms of the increase in the number of. So there's plenty of evidence out there about the efficacy of cannabis. More is welcome, of course, but the people who say that there's none out there, that's just not true. This last story from Washington Post. Mexico's Supreme Court overturns country's ban on recreational marijuana. Yes, that's right. I don't know any fanfare. There's no big build-up to it. It just happened. Although there's been other stories in the past couple of years that have kind of led to it. The Supreme Court of Mexico on Wednesday, issued 2 rulings that effectively overturned the country's ban on the recreational use of marijuana. The rulings follow similar decisions in 3 previous cases going back to 2015. Under Mexican law, 5 such decisions set a binding precedent nationally. The 5th judgment means that while cannabis prohibition law nominally remains in place for now and arrest remains possible, all judges nationally are now bound by the Supreme Court judgment as a defense in the now much less likely scenario of prosecutions being brought. This is going to transform a think tank that was part of the effort to overturn the ban. They go on to say the legalization of cannabis for adult personal use, possession, private cultivation, and sharing is therefore currently de facto, in practical effect, legal rather than de jure formalized in law or legislation. That could change in 90 days. Mexico's Congress has 90 days to rewrite the nation's drug laws to comply with the rulings. Transform state, at which point the reform will assume the du jour status. Remains unclear what Congress will do in response to the ruling. Could set up a system involving taxation and commercial sales. Could also adopt a more limited approach that would make marijuana possession and use legal but not sales, kind of the way things are in Vermont and the District of Columbia right now. So de facto legalization in Mexico, de jure legalization coming to Mexico. So now Canada and Mexico are going to have some form of legal marijuana, and the U.S. federal government is just, they're behind. They're behind. I've addressed this subject many times. I've addressed this issue. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on this, but they're behind. Quite behind. States are trying. They're trying, but until federal law changes, there's limits to what can be done. Thanks, everybody. Checking out Cannabis News. Well, I almost messed up that graphic, but I didn't. What I messed up, you didn't see. Probably shouldn't have drawn attention to it, but here we are. But it doesn't matter. Like I said, because it didn't affect the show. It affected what I was doing, but it didn't affect the show. And those little problems are okay. I can live with that. Thanks, everybody, for checking out Cannabis News. Click the video tab at marijuanatimes.org. Search the Marijuana Times on Apple Podcasts to find the audio-only version of the show. Thank you to Nature Side and their organic, all-natural pesticides, nature-side.com. Thank you for liking, sharing, and commenting on the videos and helping to spread the truth about cannabis. Thank you for checking out today's show, and we will see you next time right here on Cannabis News.